Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of the Moni Podcast. I am your host, Moni, and today I am going to be speaking to a woman that wears many, many hats. She is truly a gift, a woman of grace and purpose. And look, she brought me flowers. You can see they are, what? My favorite color? Purple. I believe she said they're sweet peas. I'm going to put these in some water, but I just wanted to show these to you guys. For those of you listening, try and hop onto YouTube so you can see how beautiful these flowers are. Very, very nice. They're going to stay with me through our interview, so let me just put them right here. So I'm going to be speaking to none other than Enza Tiberi-Checchia. Okay, she is a national recognized mental health advocate, philanthropist, speaker, and former president of the widely respected event Hats On for Awareness. Enza was named one of CAMED's 150 different makers, selected out of over 3,000 nominees for her bold leadership and impact in mental health across Canada. But behind all of this, she's a woman who has walked through deep valleys, from surviving multiple major depressive episodes to grieving the devastating loss of her father to suicide. Enza's story is one of truth, tenacity, and turning pain into purpose. Today, we're going to talk about mental health, family, grief, legacy, and what it truly means to give back when you've been through so much. Please help me welcome my guest, Enza.
Thank you for having me. It's always nice to spend time with you, Moni. We go back a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I really, really appreciate you coming. And it's been a minute. I don't think we've seen each other since the last maybe Hats On event.
Masquerade. You were.
Yeah, that was the last time I saw you.
People, yeah.
Yeah.
Last time.
That was my first time attending, and that event was really well put together. I had such a great time. I wore my little leather hat, and oh my gosh, the people, the cause. Tell me a little bit about that event and what got you started in that.
It started, I lost my father's suicide.
Yes.
36 years ago. He was only 50. And I kind of had a secret promise, not secret, but just a promise I didn't speak out loud. 20 years later, I spoke it out loud to one person, Mr. Benny Karinji. And he said, let's do something together. My promise was to do something so other families wouldn't go through what we did. And we co-founded Hats On for Awareness. It's an incredibly successful charity. The Masquerade was the annual fundraiser, and it's still going on today. They've raised, I don't even know what they're up to right now. It was $1 million when I was there, and I think they've been doing 500 or 600 per year now.
Wow.
They've really kicked it up. Very proud. They work very hard. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. But that's not the first time we met. Do you remember the first time we met? You and I, the first time I heard you speak, I was like, oh. I sat there in awe, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go speak to this lady. Like, your story resonated with me, and I was just like, just so moved and inspired that someone could be so bold and brave, you know. Do you remember where tell the people where we...
Funny, as a friend of mine was asking me, how do you know her?
Yeah.
I was thinking back, I'm like, yeah, our common connection is Mr. or
Miss...
Dottore.
Yes.
Michael Tibolo.
Michael Tibolo.
At the time, he was a lawyer, and he was on the board of Caritas. He'd been asked to speak, and that's how I met him. And there was a connection also with Hats On and Caritas in terms of, raising funds for them. And you and I were on a rap table discussion that he had. And that was the first time we met.
That's the first time we met. And the connection was just there. Like, as an advocate for mental health, I'm really drawn to those that have the similar story, same walk of lives. And your story just really pulled me in. And I immediately came over to you and just introduced myself. And we talked and we just connected. You remember? That just felt so like I knew you. I was just like, oh my gosh, that was like so surreal.
I think that's the kinship of, peer to peer when you go through something. It's just a language, a connection, an energy.
Exactly.
That just brings you in, right?
And we definitely had that. And since then I kept in touch with you. We've always supported each other's events. And I was just like, oh my gosh, Enza's story is just one. And today I really want my listeners to hear her story, hear what she has to say, and just really feel inspired and moved. In a nutshell, tell us, who is Enza beyond the titles and the accomplishments? If you can sum up yourself a little bit.
Okay. Let's see. She's intense.
Mm.
Who am I kidding, right? She is generous.
Mm-hmm.
She's deep. She's definitely not surface. She goes for the deep conversations right away. She's kind. She's kind. She is a community builder.
Mm-hmm.
She thrives when there are communities being built around her.
Yes.
She likes to plant those seeds. Service is really her.
That's definite.
Yeah.
She's given you just the surface of what she's
also
about.
A grandmother, new grandma, right? Loving that, and a mother, and
Yeah,
sister, and a daughter. A lot of other things, but yeah, these are my rules.
Now, you do wear many hats, literally, although the event is hats on. Philanthropist, mental health advocate, community leader. You touched on a few of those. Which hat has felt the heaviest to carry, and which brings you the most joy in your role?
Well, I think they're one and the same, to be honest, because the heaviest is being the interrupter of family, inherited trauma. And I know I signed up for that big work. And it's also been the most joy.
Yeah.
When I come out the other side, not so much when I'm in the ring of fire. I take really, it's a privilege to be able to do what my ancestors couldn't have even thought of. They weren't sitting around thinking, oh, let me be more self-aware. Let me do some work. Let me go to therapy. They were just surviving.
Mm-hmm.
I feel them close. I feel them closer. My mom passed in January.
Yes.
So I miss her so much.
Yes.
And I'm closer to the family tree as people pass. So I take that responsibility that I said yes to. It's really something that for me is a privilege to be able to
be a part of. Yeah.
And that's my legacy that I leave for my family, hopefully to, resolve and flow through some of those family dynamics and patterns and interrupt them, stop them, so that the next generation, my grandchildren, for example, will not be carrying those
heavy, you've kind of paved the way. Now, mental health and lived experiences. We both have that path. We've both traveled there. You've heard a little bit of my story with being a victim of harassment, bullying, which kind of led me to anxiety, depression. You experienced your first major depressive episode at just 23, was it? Can you take us back to that time and what it felt like? 23 is pretty young, and that's the first time you experienced.
It felt like it came out of nowhere.
Nowhere,
like a button was pushed, and it happened. I felt like I had to run. There was all kinds of things happening. I had a couple of moments of kind of like it was a psychotic episode. I had some visions at the time that were pretty shocking, and I know through my spiritual journey since then, those visions were telling me that I was embarking on a different chapter of my life, right? Like a different path. But at the time, it was scary.
Yeah.
But I've been off medication since 2007.
Amazing. Awesome. Love that.
Yeah, started with a coach and a therapist.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Stop your medication.
Exactly.
But it was a goal, and I've been able to keep it. And feeling when you've been medicated is a big thing.
I know.
As hard as it is,
it's true.
You got to feel it to heal it, they say.
Yes.
Yeah, I've lived that. I have tried to feel every single thing. Sometimes I put it on hold. I'm like, okay, I'm having this feeling. Maybe I can go back to it a little bit later. It's too intense right now.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't just push anything. Not for me.
So after that, sadly, your father took his own life. How did that grief shape your relationship with mental health, both personally and publicly? Because I know people that's gone through grief, especially that of family, mom, dad. It changes the individual, How did that grief shape your relationship with mental health?
Well, I've lost both my parents now. My mom
Yes.
passed, God rest her beautiful soul, in January of this year. And they were both very different. So
Mhm.
yes, it changes you forever.
Mhm.
My father's death, I was pregnant. It was my first. I was 3 months pregnant. So I consciously went into just shutting down. I could not let that in and affect. So I had a couple of health scares just before the funeral too. So there was, the protective mom kicked in, and my father's death, I don't think I grieved it till many, many years later. So
Yeah.
protective.
What do you think that is, though?
I think that's just the innate wisdom of being a mom, even with a baby in your belly. You just know that you've got to do whatever to protect that child.
that
I was
child.
worried that, uh, it was something too big um, to add on to everything else, and my body was already telling me. I had a couple of scares
And you're like,
with the
listen.
pregnancy, so I knew, okay.
So you paused your grief.
Yeah, I don't think I ever picked it up. That's an interesting thing. I don't know that I picked it up. I don't know what happened to that grief. But then when my mom died in January, it
All came.
full service. Yeah, yeah, like thinking they're both gone. My
Just
mom
hit
was
you.
our rock. She
Yeah.
woke up one day and it was all over, right? Dad said, don't work too hard. It was the last words her love of her life said to her, So,
Wow. You can pause grief. Some people actually do that, and it comes out in situations that they never expected it to, like a small trigger, and it just brings them back to the loss of mom, the loss of dad. And you kind of touched on that a little bit when you said when your mom passed, you kind of just said, okay, well, dad's gone. Now mom's gone. It's almost like a rock, like a heavy. I can only imagine. I personally haven't been there, but it's like a heavy.
well, if I'm being very honest, which you always are.
Yes, who really want that?
Usually am. It actually, the experience I had, I don't know how I can explain it, but it was a very light experience with my mom dying.
Okay.
So there was the grief of losing her, but the lightness came from seeing the life she chose to live after all of that tragedy, seeing her last few months. She was so happy.
That's good. She was.
Yeah, she had a chance to go full circle and become that happy, authentic person she was before Dad's tragic death. And it was her time. Dementia had started, and I don't think she wanted to be here for the deeper effects of it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that, but it sounds as if she really left a legacy, and she's living through a little bit through you with some of the work that you've done through the community. You're still maybe the rock, the anchor, holding the family together now that she's transitioned. I know death is not an easy thing. It's never, never easy, especially when it's that close to home. But what would you say has helped you stay grounded through multiple depressive episodes over the years?
I would say family and friends.
Definitely.
Family, 100%. And friends, different friends at different times. I think we come and go in each other's chapters as we're needed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a marathon and there's those people passing the batons and giving you wisdom.
Yes.
And then you have it to give to the next person.
Pass on the baton. Just touching a little bit more on grief and healing. What do you wish people better understood about grief, especially the kind that comes with suicide loss?
Well, I spoke at Greater Toronto Distress Centers. There's a keynote there. And I will tell you that I wanted to call the talk "The Gift of Suicide."
Oh.
But that was too evolved and insensitive for people who are at the beginning of that journey. Can't possibly resonate.
You did it. Yep.
Right? You're talking 36 years later.
Yes.
I can resonate with that, but I certainly couldn't at the beginning. But I changed the title to "The Truth in Suicide." And I believe that the purpose of suicide is to bring truth and to surface the family dynamics and the things that are unhealthy in our families that we need to see. It's only by seeing them
that we can kind of
consciously choose to change them.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
There's a lot of truth. the stuff that happened before my dad died was there when he died and was there after he died. And I can say now that my mom's gone, my brother and sister and I have a relationship that was not possible without all of
with all that. So it kind of brought you guys closer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny how that works. I find death always brings family closer. For some reason, it's almost like a mini wake-up call. It's almost like they said, listen, life is short. We don't have much time together. Let's just put our differences aside, come together as one, and just try to make it work or just get along better with each other. And maybe I think in that moment,
it's a huge portal for families and for healing. And I believe a lot that the other side of the veil, our ancestors come in and help. I certainly had a healing when my mom passed. I felt my ancestors close. I was able to resolve a couple of things in my life that had been a little bit heavy. Forgiveness just came naturally. So it was like a portal open when she died, and it was open for even after we buried her. It was special. I think there's a lot of energy that is shared collectively for the family and for the lineage. I felt all of my grandmothers and the women before me kind of supporting that time. Yeah. Helping us with the grief of saying goodbye.
So in that dark moment, those quiet moments, would you say that was like your anchor, or what was your anchor during those quiet moments or dark
or just in general?
Yeah, in general.
In general? I guess just my strong belief system that everything is always working for us. We just don't know at the time. My famous analogy, when you see a movie and you see a trailer, you don't know what the movie's about.
You don't know what the movie's about. It's true. Just a snippet.
Right? The time in your life, you're in that snippet.
Yes.
You don't know your whole what's going to happen.
That's true.
So, when I'm in it, even if it's something I don't want that's come through, I don't ignore it. I let myself have the experience of it, but I always know I can't imagine how this is going to work for me, but I know that it will, and it always does. Always
does. Has healing felt like a journey for you, or more like waves? How was healing look like for you?
For me, it's waves.
Waves,
really deep, and then catapulting straight into the stars, right? Yeah. Like those rebounders.
Yeah. I agree. It is in waves. Sometimes you do get those relapse moments where you feel you're doing so good, you're on your path of healing, and then something just comes out of nowhere, like the wave, like a little surfer. All of a sudden, you go knocking off that surfboard into the water. I feel a little bit of that with my personal journey in terms of healing. But you always get back up.
Oh, yes. Another tool in the toolbox.
Exactly.
It's Qigong, it's water, it's red light therapy. It's like I've added so many tools to my toolbox.
Exactly. Whatever works.
I add another one, right? But walking in nature is the ultimate. It's easy. Doesn't cost anything. You don't need to.
Don't need to. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you brought 2 books with you today. Tell us the titles of these 2 books and how you were approached to be an author for them.
Well, they're both very different. So 7 Stories, an anthology, they're both anthologies, they have that in common, is in the town of Georgina.
Okay.
They had a writing contest, and it was the Georgina Center for Arts and Culture. And beautiful images by Tom Zoltz. He's a local photographer.
Okay.
And they had 7 of his photos, and they said, write an essay, a story, a poem, whatever you like about any of his photos.
About the photos.
There was one called The Reckoning that just spoke to me. And I literally sat down at the kitchen table, and the words just onto the page.
Oh, give us a little snippet.
Out there, right? I moved to Georgina, didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Placed in my category, so I got to know a lot more people. So
that is amazing. Can we get a little snippet of what that sounds like?
Okay. All right. Go right to the beginning, and then if you're interested, you can read the rest.
You can read the rest.
It's called The Reckoning.
All right.
That's the title of his photo. And this is what transpired for me into the words. There is a time, a place, a moment when the reckoning arrives. It is fierce, it is strong, it is unavoidable. Its purpose, surrender. There is a time, a place, a moment when the reckoning takes over to lead, to guide, to usher in the soul's truth.
Just I'm gonna do a little snap of that right there. Very nice, the reckoning. Love that. And you said the words just came, just flowed, just by looking at the photo. You kind of just felt. Did it bring you back to a time?
Well, I was in it.
And you just
in 3 years I moved 4 times. I hadn't moved for 30 years.
Oh wow.
And this was my 3rd move. And it was while I was constructing my little gem, which is my lake house in Georgina, that I took apart. And yeah, I was exhausted. I was hopeful for my new life.
Yeah.
My small town life that I started to create, my next best life, which is what I'm living now. But yeah, it was a time to remember all that had brought me there. And then this book came well before that. And this was a beautiful book by Heather Down, Natalie Harris, and Courtney Taylor. They did this together, and it was asking people to submit stories, essays about their mental health journey. Or there's 38 of us.
Amazing.
All these beautiful people. And we did book signings together. It's a really beautiful, I love community. So this is a beautiful community that these 3 beautiful ladies started. And basically I'm in the 3rd part of it, which is the revolution.
Very fitting. It's fitting.
And my
very
story
fitting.
is called The Question.
Okay.
And it's available on
Amazon. Excellent.
What I find is that what people say the most is there's at least one story that people
can
resonate a little bit
to.
more or less that they can connect with. We talked about Asante.
Yeah, I was taking a look at that. There's so many people there that I was like, oh my gosh, I know this one. I know. Oh wow, everybody got together and published.
From the time we did this. Yeah, he's changed.
Asante has done really good work in the community. And you featured a little story in that, the revolution. Okay.
The question is my story. I won't tell you what the question was, but I'll tell you it was my therapist that asked it. And it was powerful.
I'm telling you.
Even the power of the question. I've always been.
It's so good to have
the answer will come.
A therapist that encouraged you to really. It was my therapist that encouraged me to publish my book because I always brought my journal to my sessions and I started to write poetry. And she was like, you should consider publishing. And the poems were so dark. I was like, what are you talking about? Why would people want to hear this stuff? They're so dark and sad. You know what I mean?
Too.
And that's what she said. She's like,
everything's flowery.
Exactly. That's what she said. She was like, that's why they need to hear it. Because you're showing what it looks like. And I thought about it and it's doing pretty good. It's on Amazon right now, 4.5 stars. So yeah.
Autograph mine?
Well, we're going to do some book exchange. But I really see the power of really sharing your story. You never know who it resonates with. And this book with so many authors sharing their story, anyone can connect to just, what they have to say. So your story, is it possible to have a little snippet of what you wrote? Like, is there a paragraph that you want to share?
I can start at the beginning, just to set the stage.
Set the stage.
Set the stage for the story. It's called The Question.
Okay.
And it starts with, I go outside to make a very important call to a spiritual psychotherapist to have a discovery session. It's a beautiful summer day, the sun shining on my face and Mother Earth beneath my feet. I dial the number. The voice on the other end answers, "Good morning, Enza. The intention for this call is for each of us to determine if it's a good fit for us to work together. Can you tell me your story?" It's the beginning of it.
Leave it there as a cliffhanger. Y'all got to get the book. It's available on Amazon. We're going to leave the full titles of her books in our notes below. So if you guys are interested in purchasing where you can find the books, definitely read the notes. But excellent snippets. Really like that. I definitely have to get a copy of your books. Let's get into leadership and mental health advocacy. You were named CAMAGE Difference Maker. When I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's huge. What does that recognition mean to you?
So it was Canada's 150th birthday. It was in 2017.
I feel like
they asked people to nominate people that were doing good work in mental health.
Nice.
Could be doctors, could be nurses.
Yeah.
Anybody. And I got nominated.
You got nominated.
I got, I got selected with this beautiful different
That's amazing.
designation.
Yeah.
And it was a recognition that I'm doing some good work in the mental health.
Definitely.
And I take that, as an honor. CAMH is world-renowned research and treatment facility. It's been a long time since I've kind of been out there or had a reason to be with those folks, but they're good people.
Yes.
They do good work.
They do good work, definitely.
And it was the first recipient of the funds at Hats On.
Oh, that was given.
When we started.
Okay, you started off with that.
CAMH.
Yes, yes.
And there's a room in CAMH with my late father's name.
Yeah.
The board surprised me by doing that.
Oh, that is so good.
And the original donation was a room for all of the volunteers at CAMH. So they have a place to go and just, you can imagine when you're volunteering there, it's very heavy. And they had a place to go because Hats On for Awareness raised $250,000 for that.
For them, yeah.
And $20,000 for the room honoring my late father.
That is amazing. Well deserved. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, Enza, the work that you do in the community speaks volumes. And CAMH is the Center for Addiction, Mental Health. They're doing really good work. So to have them recognize you for such an award, kudos, hats off to you. Really, really admire that. So you said hats off, started off donating the first amount to Hats On for Awareness. It basically became a movement, right now you're currently not involved. It's still ongoing.
I resigned in 2019 from my role. I don't have any role with the organization other than the historical. It was my promise that originally spoke out loud, and Benny and I together co-founded it.
Yes.
And I was the chief visionary officer until I resigned. But other than that, now it's a whole new organization.
But it's still going strong.
Work and raising good money for causes. There are people out there that through these, treatments and options that Hats On is funding, get the help that they need.
It's doing really good work. I really enjoyed it.
Wherever he is, smiling, and he is glad that through our trauma and our pain and our loss, that
this was birth.
That's the ultimate transformation right there.
So. Well done. Well done. What are some of the most meaningful conversations that you've had as a mental health advocate?
Oh,
probably quite a few.
Well, look, I guess the most meaningful and powerful ones are the ones that I call the day after.
Oh,
yeah. So I have a presence on Instagram, etc. And I have relationships with a lot of my followers that I guess it was just a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
But, those tender moments when someone calls and said, my loved one
kind of heard,
or they tried, or whatever the case may be, and they're entrusting me in that space in their life in that moment in time. That for me is sacred.
Yes.
And that's the hand of God that works through all of us. And I always I think at that point it's being a good listener.
Always.
And I think what we talked about earlier about, someone who's been through similar circumstances.
Yes.
Wipe away.
Yeah.
There's no judgment.
There's no judgment.
Maybe I shouldn't say this.
Same language is spoken. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We understand. Yeah.
And that connection. So those to me are the most powerful conversations. I have so many of them, and I'm grateful for each and every one that they trusted in me to have that conversation.
You find it hard sometimes to say, okay, what do I say to this person in that moment? Does it come hard for you, or do you just feel like I can say something to this individual and,
I used to.
Yeah.
I used to. Like, oh my God, I'm going to say the
exactly.
Should have read that thing that came out from CAMH about what to say, or jack.org, they're telling me, why didn't I read it? But at the end of the day, when we get quiet and still and we're present, the presence is, that's, once we're present with someone, what needs to come out,
it just flows.
Yeah, it comes.
I feel you. It's true. And it's like the right words at the right time. You never get a negative response. You just say something and it's just like, oh my gosh, I really needed to hear that.
Yeah. Oh. Well, and I'll go back and read some of my blogs and I'll be like, did I write that? Because when we're in the space and that we're co-creating with this divine source, what comes out of us is co-created. It's not all us.
All us. Yeah. Wow.
Or maybe it is. Maybe it's the 100% us before all of this stuff of this world and this life
happened.
Yeah.
What role did your upbringing play in shaping your ability to speak so openly about mental health? You know, in my culture, it's not something we talk about. So it was really hard for me to come forward and just let mom, dad know I've been diagnosed with depression or I've been diagnosed with anxiety. You know, it was almost like silence as soon as you said that, you know? So we have different backgrounds, different culture. How did your upbringing make it so easy or shaped you to be able to use your voice to just,
I think when I had it, I don't think I consciously spoke to people about it necessarily. But I think after losing my father, I remember at the time feeling very strongly, and my family agreed, that there was no lying. We were going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it.
Died.
Oh,
my grandmother at the time was elderly, so she's the only one. We said that died in his sleep, I think.
Okay.
But everybody else, I mean, I just think if we don't, for me, it translates into shame.
Yes.
There's
waiting for you to say that.
Talk about things in my values. That spells shame.
That's shame. Exactly.
That's true. That's my truth. So for me, speaking about it honors that it was their journey. It was a choice. Whatever you want to say about it, we can't judge.
Yeah.
Keeping it quiet to me is part of making it
a shameful thing. And it's not. And that's what I try to tell people. It's not. It took a while for my family and friends to understand that it's not something to be ashamed of. Because for a while, I was very ashamed of it. And I was like, I'm not telling nobody nothing. Ain't nobody got to know nothing. But it got to the point where you have to live your truth and you have to put yourself out there. In order for me to get better, I had to share what I was going through. So I like that. Yeah, exactly. And they needed to know, how can they help me get better? What can they do if they don't understand what it is? And how did I get to that place? So I like that you said the words shame.
Yeah.
You had to let people know that, you know?
So one of my dear friends is being trained as a shaman. A couple different types, different cultures. He's a special soul. He's my soul brother. I'll just give the initial T. Yes. Who he is. And I remember he gave me a different perspective about my father's death. And he said, in the shaman tradition, he did not take his life. Get this. He offered his life. Ooh. And I thought, wow, now that is, right? He offered his life. And when I look at what happened after his death and the goodness that has done and is doing, and all the people that were helped, the ripple effect of his offering of his life.
Connected with you, eh? Oh, wow. I've never looked at it that way. Yeah.
I mean, my dad was a humble, hardworking guy. I don't know that his life would have rippled to touch as many people as it has without the element of his death by suicide. And that was his journey. And I will never not talk about it because there is no shame. There's nothing but it's a fact of how he died, and it was a choice he made on his journey.
Yeah, suicide is a very hard battle. And for those of you who are still here, maybe you've had that journey where you contemplated taking your life. I'm glad that you're still here. We're glad that you're still here. It's very hard to walk away from those attempts. But for those of you that's been able to do that, continue to, it's hard to say be strong, but you deserve to be here and continue to be in this moment. I speak personal journey as well. I had 3 attempts, and for me to walk away from them, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm still here. You know, it's hard, and people look at it like, oh, you're selfish, you just don't think about other people. But in that moment, nobody knows what that person is feeling, you know?
I actually don't.
No.
I never had suicidal thoughts with my depression. I just had...
just the depression. Just the depression.
Yeah. And so what did it for you? Am I allowed to ask?
No, don't.
What did it for you? Tell me.
The walking away from it, you mean? Oh, it's almost like a tug of war. And I think in those moments, what helps me walk away is my first episode, I thought of my mom. And she said to me, if you never think of anyone else, think of what you leave in this world would leave, the pain that it would leave on us. You know, people are going to think, what happened to her? What was going on in that family? They're going to think all sorts of negative things. And I thought, did I really want to leave that burden on the family, you know? And I just kept thinking of her, and she just said, you're my only daughter. I have 2 younger brothers. I'm the only girl.
And favorite auntie.
And the favorite auntie. And I held on to her words, and that helped me step away for the first time. It helped on the others, but the initial first time that happened, I just kept thinking of my mom and the words she said, and I just said, oh my gosh, you know, it's like a heavy weight just came off of me, and I just moved from there. It was hard. It's not an easy thing. It's not easy. It's like rocks, almost like you're very deep and these rocks are in your pockets and it's pulling you down to the bottom, and you have to slowly get those rocks out of your pocket and then just float up to the top. But in that moment, I try to hold on to thoughts, positive thoughts of someone that said something to me to make me feel, no, you're valid, you really need to be here. And I hold on to it, and I hold on to it, and I hold on to it until I come to the surface. So it's really hard. It's really, really hard.
Whoever's struggling, we need everybody. Everybody has a purpose and a reason to be here.
To be here.
Just reach out.
Well said. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave for the next generation in your family? Because you've started something great here.
It is so much more real when you have grandchildren. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Them. A 5-year-old little girl.
Nice.
All spice and energy.
And everything nice.
Oh, yeah. He's special. And the little guy who's only 11 months is just, how do I describe him? He just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
All the time. He's got this energy that I laugh and I hear myself. I don't recognize the laugh. I don't think I've ever laughed like this before, or this hard, or this much.
The grandkids brings out something in you. I see my mom.
Different, right? So it's very real. Okay, you can say, what's your legacy? And you think about your children.
Yes.
And you have another layer, like, you know, being a grandmother. Now there's 2 layers of different to say.
Yeah.
I'm very clear. I'm very clear that when my grandchildren ask, well, actually, they won't have to ask about me because I haven't been a quiet human.
No, they'll see and hear.
But I have things that I believe in, and I'm willing to die on that hill for those things that I believe in. And my value system is, even if I don't agree with you, if you're the type of person that is taking something that you believe in and doing what you believe is right with that thing, I can respect that. Even if I don't agree with it, I can respect that you're standing for something. And for me, it's just being the best person that we can. Something that's come up in the last week, because there's been a few things gone really wonky in my life, and I've had to call and give some negative feedback. And I always say, I'm calling because I want us to be better, not bitter.
I love that.
You know, and we can be better if we start a conversation about how can we make this better, instead of wanting to have one person right and one wrong. You got to both be okay. You got to be willing to just let it go and find an answer together. Otherwise, there's no winning anymore. That's the old paradigm.
That's old, eh?
There's no winning and losing. There's just aligning and understanding, agreeing to disagree, whatever that might be. And just allowing people to be who they are, as long as they're not infringing on your boundaries or asking you to do something that, you know, goes against your will.
I love that. Letting people be who they are. There's no like negative feedback. You just kind of give that, not being bitter, you said, but better.
Better.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I love that. But your legacy is already there, especially when you touch on CAMED and how they brought you to the wing that they named after your father. You're already paving the way. And I have to say, you are one of my mentors, because when I saw some of the things that you're doing and the fact that you basically took me in, I think from the first time we connected, I've always been able to send you an email, send you a message, ask you a question, and you never just push me away. You always just answer me or take me in, and I'm just like, this is good. I like this. She's answering me. I feel good. I feel validated. I feel heard. even the opportunity to come today, I was like, she's busy. She has too much going on. You know what I mean? I was like, she ain't gonna come.
Can I say how I look at you? I know you are doing everything. Fashion, podcast, even today, right? What did I ask you?
Yeah, you're like, what do you do for work?
I know about it. What is your actual day job? Because you're so busy, and I know you have a day job. I don't know how.
Yeah, I juggle a lot.
Like, do you have a man? And where's the time for that one? That's the grandma talking, but you do a lot.
Wear many hats, but
influence in your community as well. You have
thank you.
Really strong voice in terms of being raw and authentic and real. And you provide a platform for the rest of us to, while we're supporting you, to get our message out there.
Yeah.
You're doing amazing things. So right back at you. I look at you and I don't know how you do what you do either.
We make it work, people. We're making it work. But definitely your legacy is there and we see it. But for yourself, you've done a lot of giving. When was the last time you did something just for you? Like, how are you taking care of Enza?
Well, the workaholic version.
Yeah.
9 years ago, took care of everybody else. And took care of the business and the charity, all those things. But the new Enza has learned through chronic body pain, emotional pain, emotional dysregulation, all of that. I have learned that the most important thing we do, the legacy that I want to leave the most, is the self-care, self-awareness.
Very important. Yes.
Because if you can't love yourself, then it's
going to be hard for someone else to love you.
Yeah,
you have to love yourself first.
You need to put yourself first. The other thing too is my experience of it is when you don't love yourself and take care of you, somebody going to feel that responsibility to do it for love you. That's what I experienced. Like my mom. My mom was such a humble woman. She couldn't receive. She would never let anybody do anything for her.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it made it hard. And we would butt heads at times. I would say, but Mom, why don't you let me take you out and buy you something?
Yeah.
She wouldn't. And it was really hard.
She just couldn't let
That's that generation, right?
Yeah.
My generation, I'm trying to model through just my life, right? The way you live your life is your legacy. The way I live my life, I moved far away. I'm in tune with Mother Nature in a way I've never been. I see the sunset every night. I walk along the lake every day. That was not a version of me from the past.
That's a lot of self-care.
The school of hard knocks of healing.
That's brought you there. Yeah.
Self-care, right? I'm a self-care aficionado.
Yes.
In my spiritual resume, right?
Spiritual resume. But self-care is very important. I love that you touch on those little things that you do for self-care, because in our day and age, we do need to take care of ourselves. Self-care is very important. People, take that time out of your busy day. As she mentioned, if it's just to take a walk, take a little breather, go outside. I know it's hot and gloomy out there right now, but you have to make sure you take care of yourself before you can take care of others.
Yes. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes. That's it. That was it.
Feel good. The person that you're pouring into doesn't feel good.
No.
When your cup is full and you share, it feels good.
It feels better.
Yeah.
A fun or quirky fact about you that people might be surprised to learn. Maybe I'm going to know this for the first time too.
It's an open book. I'm trying to think.
I know about. Like a fun, quirky thing that they're like, really? I would never thought that about you. What do you think it is?
I'm going to say I'm a YouTubeaholic.
Really?
Yeah. I love there are people on YouTube I follow, and I pray every night for blessings for them because they put themselves out there. And there's a few of them that are just near and dear. Like there's one guy that I follow for politics. He just a little bit of a snippet.
Oh.
And we have the same political values.
Well, it's okay. I wouldn't have thought that one.
Self-care people.
Yes.
Most of the things I've done to help heal myself, I've learned through YouTube and other people's generosity of spirit to give of themselves to help others. So yeah, I love YouTube. I mean, I don't even I have Netflix,
but you're mostly on YouTube, right?
Mostly
on YouTube. I'm surprised at that one. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I even have premium. I even pay extra. No commercial. Yeah, that's me.
See the importance of having a platform, a space where you can share, and you never know who you're inspiring, who needs to hear, who's watching you. So that's a good one. So if you could wear only one hat, actual hat for like the rest of your life, what would it be? Would it be literal or metaphorically speaking, but one hat that you're gonna wear? I feel like it's the grandma one. I don't know. You really a grandma.
That's
That one's not in there.
It's a role. I think the hat that would encompass everything would be community builder. That's when I just do that
automatically. It's just a thing. You're embodied in that. You can't step down from that.
And it comes, if I may, it comes from my childhood and being unlike, not unlike you. I was bullied too. I was an immigrant. Came here when I was 5, didn't speak English, had a big thick accent, all these things. A lot of immigrants to this beautiful country. And so when you've had stuff done to you, you can't do it to other people. So I bring people, that person in the corner that's left out is the one I'll gravitate to.
Be like,
bring into
what are you doing? Yeah,
and bring into the circle. So yeah, community builder, bringing people together, connection maker. Yeah, that's
wow. Well, if you guys are enjoying our conversation, subscribe, like, leave a comment if there's anything that you want to ask her. We'll get that message out to you. And again, the book information is in the body at the bottom.
And my etc. on Instagram is even faster.
Yes. Yeah. Instagram as well. Her name, everything is going to be there, but connect with Enza. She is very dear to us and a wonderful soul to the community. We're going to branch off now into a segment that we like to call Good Things Are Coming. This is a segment of the show where I leave my listeners with a positive affirmation to help you get through the week and to encourage you to keep going. So this affirmation, I just want you to repeat after me, wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing. Good things are coming because I am learning to wear my scars like crowns, and my healing is becoming someone else's hope. Let's repeat that one more time. Good things are coming because I am learning to wear my scars like crowns, and my healing is becoming someone else's hope. I felt this was fitting with your story and just the person you are.
You just brought me a message. Do you know that the crown symbolizes my ancestors to me? You didn't even know that.
No.
I've spoken about it once, but I don't make it public. That's why there's a crown in my logo for my...
Yes.
You just said...
Because she gave me her business card earlier and she had a... Yeah.
Verve.
I was just like, something that's fitting with you, and you encourage people to wear their scars and to show who they are and to just walk into that positive direction. So positive affirmation. I hope you guys take that in and, repeat it throughout the week. We'll link all of Enza's work, information, as I said, in the bottom notes. So Enza, I just want to say thank you so much for showing up today, your transparency, your tenderness, your truth. Your story reminds us that healing doesn't happen in silence, and that our painful moments actually become the root of the legacy we're meant to grow into. Any last words or inspiration or encouragement that you'd like to say to our listeners or viewers?
Just keep supporting and lifting each other's up. The world is a very different place today than it was when we were younger. And I think the one thing that can never fail us is to build community, camaraderie, support, especially when we're different. You don't have to be identical to be able to support one another. You can support people based on having similar values, kindness and courage and doing the neighborly thing. Always. You can never have too much of that.
Love that. Very well said. To every listener, if you're walking through grief, navigating mental health challenges, or trying to turn your pain into purpose, know that you are not alone and your story is still unfolding. Until next time, love and blessing. Bye for now.